What's going on, everybody? Matt Malatesta back here in the Coach's Corner with none other than St. Pius head coach Greg Cranfill. Coach, all right, so tough game, a 12-10 ball game against Beaumont Kelly. You just kind of run us through what you saw, what you liked in this in that particular contest.
Yeah, I mean, tough is a great word to explain it, because you pour everything you got into it, and so do these kids, man. They rack their brains and bust their butts to get what they, get to a situation where they're ready to play. And I think we were, we came out the first drive and drove the ball right down and scored, and then stopped them, and then went down again and kicked a field goal. So it was 10-0 very early in the game. And then moved the ball throughout the entire course of the game, but just could not execute down in the red zone. Penalties got us, a couple of just busted assignments at the wrong time that put us in holes that at this point we're not good enough to get out of. But I thought the kids, they battled, they played hard. We lost two starters within the first quarter and a half of a football game, and we're not deep to begin with, and we have guys that were trying to step up in positions they haven't normally been thrust into a situation like that. And you got to give Kelly their credit as well. When the game was on the line, they drove the ball down twice and scored on us. Defensively, Matt, I'll tell you, it's probably one of the best defenses that we've had here. From top to bottom. We've got kids that are flying around, kids that are doing the things. We got 5 of our 6 team goals on the defensive side this week. But I'll tell you this: when I was playing at Tarleton, we got beat 52-42, and our head coach walked in and said, "Offense," because I was a wide receiver. "Offense, you let us down, because you didn't score, that last drive that you had to." And I was like, wait a second, we just scored 42 points. And he's saying that the offense let us down. I promised right there as a head coach, I would always tell my team the truth, and I told our defense that we played well enough on Friday to win the game. Offensively, we have got to get better and get better quickly. We had guys like CJ Fowler on the defensive line who graded out 93%. Easton Dean, who ran some on offense and then comes back and plays defense, has over 10 tackles and the pressures. Jake Lozano, Sam Williams, all of those guys, they played their tails off, but it wasn't enough to get the win. Preston Kyle came up to me after the game, just in tears, because he felt like he let his team down. And I said, buddy, we were having difficulty putting the ball on the tee. So I really can't blame you. And it's guys like Preston who say, "Coach, put it all on me," even when he knows that it wasn't. That makes me happy to be their coach, because they take ownership and they want to find ways to get better. I told them last week, Friday does nothing to us to hurt us as far as getting our ultimate goal. But how we handle this adverse situation will tell me everything about us. And it's not going to get easier. This week we got the Woodlands Christian coming into our place for our home opener. And it's a great, well-coached football team. So we've got our hands full again this week.
I mean, you really have a tough slate,
Yeah.
And it's such an attention to detail. Everything
Right.
has to go right for teams that are kind of on that cusp to win ball games. You watch like Duke beating Clemson. It's a huge win for them, but everything had to go right, and everything kind of had to go wrong for Clemson. Just talk about how close these ball games are.
Yeah.
It's just a first down here or a mark here, or it's crazy. That's why we love football, is because there are so many dynamic things happening on the field.
Yeah. And that's exactly a great point. I mean, when we go, one of our coaches' sayings is always, "It's never as good as it seems, and it's always never as bad as it seems." In some cases you wish, but sometimes it is, the fact of how we do have kids that are playing their tails off and executing at a high level, but when one person misses his assignment, it could be detrimental to the whole group. And it would help if everybody missed the assignment on the same play, because you have 5 guys that could end up grading out at, let's say, 80 or 90. But if one of them misses one play, that's a minus. I mean, that's a minus on a play. The next one, a minus. The next one, a minus. The next one, a minus. And as a team, you're not executing, but it's only one person every play. If it's one person all the time, it's easy. You just take that guy out and find somebody to replace that one guy. But right now, and that's what coaches talk about, the consistency. Our inconsistencies on offense is what is hurting us. We scored 10 points in 2 games, and I point every finger right at me. Start off, I've got to do a better job. I've got to put us in a better situation to allow these guys that are just absorbing everything that we give them in a situation where they can be successful. I know it's football talk, but we've been pulling our guards on some of our counter plays. And when I go back and look at it, they're not grading out great on the counter pulls. So why am I going to keep putting a counter in there? Why don't we switch it and run another scheme in which we're not asking those kids to do those types of things? So I think that's what coaching is. And you got to deal with the sick knots in your stomach, because you want to go do well, but so does everybody else. And it comes down to when something bad happens, how you're going to handle that hard situation. And the great ones, they handle those hard situations better. And that's what we're going to try to put in our kids' hearts and in their minds, and come again Friday and let's go to battle.
Talk about this upcoming week. TWC has had, I think they're 1-1. They're pretty offensive. So they have a strong offense.
Yes, sir.
Talk about the challenges going into this week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've been putting points up on the board week in and week out. And for a team that's struggling on offense, you look at it and you go, man, we haven't scored over 10 points the whole year. So anything more than 17 and we're in trouble, But I don't think that's the case. I mean, we're going to try to do some things out of the ordinary, for us, and put some guys in some situations and allow them the opportunities to make plays. You run the risk of them not making the plays, but at some point you just got to turn it back over to them and say, here, go do what you're capable of doing. And you're right. The Woodlands Christians, I mean, they're a great offensive team, but they play pretty good defense as well. The teams that have been scoring on them are pretty offensive oriented, teams as well. So they've gotten into a couple of shootouts. But it's a well-coached football team. Those guys over there know exactly what they're doing. They're doing exactly the same thing. If they feel like they're going to have to outscore someone to beat them, I mean, with a 40-point game, that's what they're going into it. So we're just going to go out and try to play the strengths of our kids and let the chips fall where they may.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give us
Yes,
your
sir.
Panther of the week. Who was the Panther of the previous week?
From the Kelly game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say Easton Dean. On Max Preps, I put him as the overall player of the game, just because he came in and was pretty dynamic, rushing the football, gave us a burst, and it's something that we've got to continue. We got to add on. We got to do more. And defensively had over 10 tackles. He blocked 2 punts that game. So he was flying around the field everywhere, and Matt, I'll tell you, we got a lot of guys that probably under the radar, but not for the coaching staff and not for the people that are within this program. I mean, you got Nathan Alvarez, who's playing 50 snaps of offense and 50 snaps of defense, and Alex Yearwood, who's playing 50 snaps of offense and 50 snaps of defense. Just guys that are laying it out on the line, anything they can do to help their teams be successful, and that's what we've got to have,
Finally, hey, you see Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, winning a big ball game against TCU. Nobody really expected that. And the theme that he continues to say is just, you got to believe in the process, believe. How do you get the guys, and they probably still do believe, but is that kind of your same process or message throughout the year?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the culture of our program, and the fact that we believe in a hard hat mentality, that we're going to grab our hard hat and our lunch pail and we're going to go to work every day. And some days you're going to have bad days and other days you're going to have great days, but it doesn't matter and it doesn't change the way that we work. And I think that's where it comes down to. We tell our guys never too high and never too low. The most consistency in our life, and that goes with everything that we do. Whether it be work, whether it be school, whether it be life. It's just a matter of how you approach every situation, and knowing that what you've done in the past can only benefit, or if you allow it, will only benefit you, instead of sitting there harping on it. Fix the things that you need to fix and then move forward. And I think that's that process that we all talk about. I think it would be silly for any coach to try to convince people that it's all sunshine and rainbows in their program. Everybody goes through it, but with that mentality of let's step up whenever our number is called. I mean, hey, Matt, we started 2 freshmen at guards last week. We've got some guys that are injured, and we started 2 freshmen going into that game. If you think I was sitting there going, yeah, we're about to coast right through this thing, I knew it was going to be tough. But those 2 freshman kids are battling their butts off and doing everything. I mean, they were playing 8th grade football last year, and now they're in Division I TAPS playing. It's a huge difference, but they won't tell you that, because all they know is I'm going to grab my hard hat and I'm going to grab my lunch pail and I'm going to go to work. And I appreciate the effort that these guys give, and our coaches too. Our coaches, when we're dealing with injuries, when we're dealing with changes in lineups and stuff like that, they just run. They run to the next situation and they don't flinch. And I appreciate my coaches and all of our players.
All right. Well, hey, keep wearing the hard hats. Good luck this week against TWCA. This is Greg Cranfill, the coach of the St. Pius, the 10th Panthers. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks, man. Go Panthers.
All right. We'll talk next week.
Yes, sir.